This is well. It's funny because they're glued on already, but when they weren't glued on.
These are all your dowels, though, right?
Yes.
The first time ever. You cut your dowels before?
This is the first time I've cut the dowels myself.
That's a big step. That's a big step, in my opinion.
I know.
Because it feels like so much more homemade in a sense.
Who was I telling this to? To Alden, maybe? Like, this is the first, these being the first, the dowels that I've cut myself is so, like, interesting because before, with the Emergence series, I was, like, in Home Depot with the thing, and I had to, like, had pre-made my composition in my head, and I told them how big to cut them. So I had to know it ahead of time, but these cuts I was able to make when I was, like, in here looking at the pieces, discovering the contents, and literally, like, if you will, like, make a creative cut, like, right then, like while I was still looking at the pieces and still like formulating the concept and composition. So these cuts are more creative than the ones before because I was in situ when I did them, which is interesting.
Regarding your use of the saw to make creative decisions, I think that's really interesting. You know, how we use tools to create. When do you think you began to make creative decisions with objects growing up?
Objects. I don't know. I mean, I would pick stuff up off the beach and make stuff with it. But I don't know. I wasn't that creative of a kid, really. I just had like a super full schedule, which I think like that is the reason why I'm able to make all these creative decisions now, because I spent my whole life just sort of like inundated. Like I didn't have a lot of free time to think creatively as a kid. I just always had a full schedule, even like all the way through college. So now it's kind of like now I have time to kind of meditate on my whole life. And all these pieces have like colors from all those past experiences that I kind of wasn't able to make anything out of then. So it's all coming out now, which is interesting.
Get it ready.
This one's crazy. Reading as blue because it's silver leaf, but it's being a mirror for the blue background. Silver doesn't have much yellow content, so that's why it's presenting as blue. I think that's why I'm obsessed with these 3D things.
What is the difference to you between creating a work in one sitting versus creating a work over several sessions?
More life happens between several sessions. No, it's not even that more life happens between several sessions. It's that my brain has more time to rest between those sessions and has more time to make the best decision. Like with this one, right? Like the original, if I had made that in one sitting, there would be orange in that piece, but because I had that space between, I was able to think about it and realize that there wasn't enough contextualization for warmth in that piece, and that it had to be sort of just an entirely cool piece with just one moment of gold. I don't know. So I guess, and sometimes that I'm annoyed at those spaces in between, right? Because I kind of want to finish a piece, but I'm always end up being grateful for the time between because it forces me to think more, meditated on it more, make a better decision. Let the piece tell me what it needs instead of me telling the piece what it needs, which is always better. It kind of happens in life too, right? The more you can like listen to a person, the better off your relationship and the end result of your relationship is going to be, rather than just like talking at them. Mm-hmm. That's what I think would happen if I, like when I make pieces like all in one sitting, it's too much of my decisions and not enough of like the piece's decisions. Mm-hmm. And I think any colorist would tell you that. Like any colorist in history would tell you that, I think. Like it's such a give and take.
You feel that give and take makes for a good, quote unquote, good artwork when the piece is able to have a conversation with the viewer?
Yeah, I think so. But like, it's kind of sad that like the conversation between the piece and the viewer is never going to be the same between the creator and the artwork. Because like you've had 1,000 conversations with that piece. The what's it called? Hydra.
Oh.
Yeah, like you had like 1,000 conversations with that one. It went from like totally orange to whatever, and your viewer is just gonna have like one instance of it. So there's like a ton of layers of choices. Like literally in the layers of my pieces, there's layers of choices that the viewers of the final product are probably never gonna have a chance to.
Do you think in order to most accurately consume the artwork, they need to view it through your lens?
No. No. My way is just one way. Ah! Need to go get another piece. No, my way is just one way. And I think the whole point of making abstract art is to like create opportunities for like 50 different, or however many different viewers there are. That's how many different conversations are going to happen. We create a chance for everyone to have their own interpretation. It's like when I look at this thing, I see like a full harbor, right? But I once had this guy come into my studio and he was like, "That's a like 1974 Ford like race car thing," and I was like, "That's brilliant! Like that's what you see. I see something totally different." And that's all based on our color memories, our color stories that are so much more like hardwired than I think we think. And my pieces have a weird way of like bringing that out in people, which is cool. Let's find a green one. Just because Mike's here, we'll work on the green one.
Yay! I noticed there's a lot of green here today.
I know.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, it's funny because like people ask me all the time like how I pick my colors that I work with, and sometimes it's literally just that I want like the diversity on the wall. Like I made the pink one not because I was feeling a lot of things with the pink one. Like pretty much any time there's pink and orange in a piece, it's definitely me trying to channel my mom's energy. But there was just not enough warm on the whole wall. It was a ton of green and blue, and I needed to like warm it up, throw a match in the. So sometimes I just literally want to diversify my wall. I can't remember my math on this, but we'll just get the general layout. Math.
So how does this new body of work relate to the pieces within the Emergence series?
I think the Emergence series was like getting the original concept out of my head of like working with 3D materials, which you need to do with anything. It was kind of like a ripping Band-Aid moment, like, or like the first time you jump off a diving board, like, okay, now I did it, now I know I can do it, now how can I take it and like add a flip or a twist or like, so this is like my, like, I don't know, I was still creative with the Emergence series, but now it's like I'm comfortable enough with the technique to, but still curious enough about it to keep pushing it. Like there's been plenty of styles and things that I've tried out where I've tried it, I've enjoyed it, and then it kind of fizzles out because I kind of reached the end of like how I think it could evolve. This like excites me in the same way that like when I first discovered my process in college of just like minimizing it down to just color and light and line, because I just feel like the possibilities are relatively endless here. Like if not endless, like times 3, because I have 3 other like planes to work with per like 3D applique. There's so much more elements to think about. Like now that this is 3D, I have to consider the way the light comes in, what kind of shadow it's gonna make, and what kind of color it's gonna make with this green. This is the same green as this green, but it's not the same green when you look at it because there's, like, it's a shadow of it. So, yeah, there's just so much to play with that I think, I mean,
Your thoroughness with the possibilities, with each of these new styles, these new dimensions that you're opening up, this Pandora's box of, potential new pieces. That thoroughness is something I've been thinking about a lot. How can we apply that to everyday life? Like how would this relate to my work or Matt's work, for instance? I feel like in a very short period of time, you have created rules and then broken them.
yeah, I love rules. Oh God. Rules rules I feel like create more possibilities. In the same way that, like, when you tell a kid, like, no, you can't play with that. Like, okay, I'll play with this. Like, and then they'll make up 17 games with this, which is so much more interesting than probably like the train set that they wanted to play with, because there's one way to play with. You know what I mean? So, like, when I make rules for myself, I create like a little playground of like possibilities that I can do, like, but within that rule. So I don't know what my rule is right now with these, but with the exception of maybe just using 3D. Plus there are certain like rules that will like carry on through every single style of mine that I feel like I'm subconsciously like following. Like something about always doing like matte color, or like always having a certain ratio, having a certain rhythm that I don't even know that I'm doing that keeps the piece balanced. I don't know. So up to this point, this is like a conglomerate of so many different rules that I've followed, or rules that I still enjoy following, I guess. That's interesting. I love this rain right now.
Did it just get louder?
It just got a lot louder.
I like the sounds of this building.
Yeah, it's nice, right?
Even the
Because it's
smells.
not too echoey.
Yeah, I like the vintage aspect